Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, classmate. Good morning, Dr. Abante. So, we're going to discuss the chapter 8, and it's all about securing information system. All right, so I will be a first presenter. By the way, my name is Angelina Ines, and next to me is Mr. J.R. Lumabas. But before I proceed to my topic, I hope all of you guys already read the opening case with the title of Hackers Attack Singapore's Telecom Infrastructure. But for those who are not yet read this case, from the title itself, you will visualize the scenario, and at the end of this, you will know how important to have a security when it comes in information system. And also, there will be a question like, what kinds of security problems do computing device pose? What are the management, organizational, and technology issues must be addressed by smartphone security? What are the steps can individuals and businesses take to make their smartphone more secure? So, by this question, it is really connected on my topic. So, let me start. So my topic is all about why are information system vulnerable to distraction, error, and abuse. And the second one is what is the business value of security and control. And the third one, what are the components of an organizational framework for security and control? So my first topic is why are information system vulnerable to destruction, error, and abuse? So digital data are vulnerable to destruction, misuse, error, fraud, and hardware or software failures. The internet is designed to be an open system and makes internal corporate system more vulnerable to actions from outsiders. So hackers can unleash denial of service, or we call it as DOS attacks or penetrate corporate networks, causing serious system disruptions. Wi-Fi networks can easily penetrate by intruders using sniffer programs to obtain an address to access the resources of the network. So computer viruses and worms can disable system and website. The dispersed nature of cloud computing make it difficult to track unauthorized activity or to apply controls from afar. So software present problems because software bugs may be impossible to eliminate, and because software vulnerabilities can be exploited by hackers and malicious software end user end user often introduce errors. So I know some of you guys already have experienced the scenario like if you tried to link to the internet without a firewall or antivirus software, your computer would be disabled in a few seconds, and it might take you many days to recover. So if you use a computer sa iyong business, you might not be able to sell to your customers or place order with your suppliers while it was down. And you might find that your computer system had been penetrated by outsiders. So, Hooper Hound stole or destroy. So, including confidential payment data from your customer. If too much data were destroyed, your business might not, or your business might never be able to recover. So, in short, if you operate a business today, you need to make security and control is a top priority on this. So when we say security, it refers to the policies, procedures, and technical measures used to prevent unauthorized access, alteration, theft, or physical damage to information system. Controls naman ay mga methods or policies and organizational procedures that ensures the safety of the organization's assets, the accuracy and reliability of its record, and operational adherence to the management standards. So here, bakit ang system ay nagiging vulnerable? So when a large amount of data are stored in electronic form, they are more vulnerable to threats. The potential for unauthorized access, abuse, or fraud is not limited to a single location, and also contemporary security challenges in technical, organizational, and environmental factors. And also, when it comes in hardware problems like breakdowns, configuration errors, damage from improper use or crime. Software problems like programming errors, installation, unauthorized changes, and also use of network computers outside of firm control. So yun nga. And also kapag computer security risk. So is an any event or action that could cause a loss of damage to computer hardware, software, data, information, or processing capability. So as you can see the illustration, it illustrates the most common threats against contemporary information system. They can stem from technical, organizational, and environmental factors compounded by poor management decision. In the client-server computing environment illustrated here, vulnerabilities exist at each layer and in the communication between the layers. Users at the client layer can cause harm by introducing error or by accessing system without authorization. It is possible to access data flow over network, steal valuable data during transmission, or alter data without authorization. Radiation may disrupt a network at the various points as well, and also intruders can launch denial of service attacks or malicious software to disrupt the operation of the website. So those capable of penetrating corporate system can still destroy or alter corporate data stored in database or files. So system malfunction if computer hardware breaks down, is not configured properly, or is damaged by improper use of criminal acts, error in programming, improper installation, or unauthorized changes can cause computer software to fail. Power failures, floods, fires, or other natural disaster can also disrupt computer system. So domestic or offshore partnering with another company contributes to system vulnerability if valuable information resides on networks and computers outside the organization control. Without strong safeguards, valuable data could be lost or destroyed or fall into the wrong hands, revealing important trade secrets or information that violates personal privacy. The popularity of handheld mobile devices for business computing adds to this. Portability makes cell phones, smartphones, and tablets computers easy to lose or steal. Smartphones share the same security weaknesses as other internet devices, and to malicious software and penetrations from outsiders. So it's smartphones that corporate employees use often contain sensitive data such as sale figures, customer name, phone numbers, and email address. So intruders may also be able to access internal corporate systems through these devices. Okay, so we will call it internet vulnerabilities if public network so open to anyone. Size of the internet means abuse may have widespread impact. Fixed IP address or fixed target for hackers or VoIP phone service vulnerable to interceptions, and also email instant messaging vulnerable to malicious software and interception. So here I know some of you already experienced this, the wireless security challenges. For example, sa ano na natin sa bahay, sa na may mga wifi, okay, kahit hindi ka or maalam sa IT and nalagyan mo siya ng password, pero nagtataka ka bakit mahina yung internet mo kasi may mga kapitbahay na nakiki-connect kasi may mga app na kayang umenter pero kung marunong ka talaga sa security ng wifi, hindi basta-basta makakapasok yung mga kapitbahay mong nakikisagap ng internet, no? Kasi kahit sa mga airport, library, or other public location, safe ba yung mga wireless network? Pero depende ka pa rin kasi sa'yo yan, how vigilant you are. Even the wireless network in your home is, 'di ba, vulnerable because radio frequency bands are easy to scan. That's why it's very important na magpatulong ka pagdating sa um, maalam sa wifi kasi yun nga, nakakaano siya ng internet connection or nakakaagaw siya ng internet connection sa atin. So, here is the illustration to have a security in your Wi-Fi. So, many Wi-Fi networks can be penetrated easily by intruders using sniper programs to update an address to access the resources of a network without authorization. Okay, so malicious software, viruses, worms, Trojan horses, and spyware. Malicious software programs are referred to as malware and include a variety of threats. Below are some of the sample of different types of malware. So, mostly ito yung ma-encounter natin or magpa-pop up sa ating computer. So, the first one is viruses. So, these bugs normally are attached to an email. Worms take up space and slow your system by making copies of themselves repeatedly. Spyware. It can monitor all forms of communication and interaction on a device. Trojans, this application is actually stealing personal data, spying, or even crashing your computer. So be careful and always ask the guide for those professional to have a security, especially on your computer. So here you will encounter the hackers and computer crime. So when we say hacker is an individual who intends to gain unauthorized access to a computer system. Within the hacking community, the term hacker is typically used to denote a hacker with a criminal intent, although in the public press. Hackers gain unauthorized access by finding weaknesses in the security protection website and computer system employed, often taking advantage of a various feature of the internet that make it an open system and easy to use. Hacker activities have broadened beyond mere system intrusions to include theft of goods and information as well as system damage and cyber vandalism. So most of the hacker activities are criminal offenses and the vulnerabilities of systems we have just described make them targets for other types of computer crime as well as a computer crime is defined by the US Department of the Justice as any violation of the criminal law that involve a knowledge of computer technology for perpetration, investigation, or prosecution. So here are the example of the computer crime. So breaching the confidentiality of protected computerized data, accessing a computer system without authority, knowingly accessing a protected computer to commit fraud, intentionally accessing a protected computer and causing damage, negligent and deliberately, knowing transmitting a program code or command that intentionally causes damage to a protected computer. Computers as instruments of crime, theft of trade secret, unauthorized copying of software or copyright intellectual property such as articles, books, music, and video, schemes to defraud, using email or messaging for threats or harassment, intentionally attempting to intercept electronic communication, illegally accessing stored electronic communication, including email and voice email, transmitting or possessing child pornography by using a computer. So here we will also encounter the internal threats in employees. So we tend to think that the security threats to a business originate outside of the organization. But in fact, company insider pose serious security problems. Employees have access to privileged information and in the presence of sloppy internal security procedures. So they are often able to roam throughout an organization system without leaving a trace. So studies have found that user lack of knowledge is the single greatest cause of network security breaches. Many employees forget their password to access computer system or allow coworkers to use them, which compromise the system. The malicious intruders seeking system access sometimes trick employees into revealing their password by pretending to be legitimate members of the company in need of information. So this practice is called social engineering. So both end user and information system specialists are also a major source of error introduced into information systems. End user errors by entering faulty data or by fault following the proper introductions of processing data and using computer equipment, information system specialties may create software errors as they design the development new software or maintain existing programs. So when we say software vulnerability, a security flaw, glitch, or weaknesses found in the software code that could be exploited by an attacker. So for the next topic, we will discuss about the what is the business value of security and control. So under this, we also discuss about the legal and regulatory requirements for electronic records and management, electronic evidence, and computer forensics. So going back to the question, ano nga ba ang value nito? Yung pagkakaroon ng security and control sa isang business. So we all know that companies have very valuable information assets to protect. Systems often house confidential information about individual taxes, financial assets, medical records, and job performance reviews. They are also can contain information on the corporate operation, including trade secrets, new product development plans, and marketing strategies. Government system may store information on weapon system, intelligence operations, and military targets. So these information assets have tremendous value, and the repercussions can be devastating if they are lost, destroyed, or placed in the wrong hands. So systems that are unable to function because of the security breaches, disaster, or malfunctioning technology can be or can have permanent impacts on a company's financial health. Some experts believe that 40% of all business will not recover from application or data losses that are not repaired within 3 days. So that's why it's very important to secure and control when regards in the system in the organization. So legal and regulatory requirements for electronic records management. So the best example here is the US government Regula- regulations are forcing companies to take security and control more seriously by mandating the protection of data from abuse, exposure, and unauthorized access. So firms face new legal obligation for the retention and storage of electronic records as well as for the privacy protection. So we all know that in the US, the crime on their country is very high now. So if you work in the healthcare industry, your firm will need to comply with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or they call it as HIPAA of 1996, outline medical security and privacy rules and procedures for simplifying the administration of the healthcare billing and automating transfer of healthcare data between healthcare providers, payers, and plans. So it requires and ensure the confidentiality of those records. It specifies privacy, security, electronic transaction standards of healthcare providers handling patient information, providing penalties of for breaches of medical privacy, disclosure of patient records by email or unauthorized network asset. So if you work in a firm providing financial services, your firm will need to comply with the Financial Service Modernization Act of 1999, better known as the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, after this congressional sponsor. So this act requires financial institutions to ensure that the security of confidentiality of the customer data, because data must be stored on a secure medium and special security measures must be enforced to protect such data on storage and media during transmittal. So para madali mahanap ka agad yung mga record. So if your work is a publicly traded company, your company will need to comply with the Public Company Accounting Reform and Investor Protecting Act of 2002. So they call it as Sarbanes-Oxley Act. So here we can do electronic evidence and computer forensics. So once there will be a hacker, or we need a result na gusto nating makuha. So, for the security control and electronic records management have become essential for responding to legal actions. Much of the evidence today for stock fraud, embezzlement, theft of company trade secrets, computer crime, and many civil cases in digital form. In addition to information from printed or typed written pages, legal cases today, increasingly rarely on evidence represented as a digital data store on portable storage devices like CDs and computer hard disks, drives, as well as in email, instant messages, and e-commerce transaction over the internet. So email is a currently the most common type of electronic evidence. So, um, pagdating naman sa computer forensic, there will be a process on this. So, mostly the computer forensic, makikita natin dito is yung mga fingerprint. Pero yun nga, digital forensic have a process. So, for the step one, investigation, preparation, evidence identification, collection of evidence, evidence preservation, information analysis, and report presentation bago makakuha ng sagot, especially dun sa mga bigating company na talagang gusto magkaroon ng results, bakit nawala yung ganito sa data nila, ganyan. So, yun, malaking gastusin and mahaba yung processing na mangyayari. So for the third topic, so what are the components of an organizational framework for security and control? So under this, the information system controls is here, and also the risk assessment. So first, I'll discuss the what are the components of an organizational framework for security and control. So here kahit siguro alam mo na yung the best security tools, your information system won't be reliable and secure unless you know how and where to deploy them. So you need to know where your company is at risk and what control you must have in place to protect our information system. So you also need to develop a security policy and plans for keeping your business running if your information system aren't operational. So when we say information system control, information system are both manual and automated and consist of general and application controls. So general controls govern the design, security, and use of computer programs and the security of the data files in general throughout the organization information, technology, infrastructure. On the whole, general control apply to all computerized application and consists of a combination of hardware, software, and manual procedure that can create an overall control environment. And also, when we say application controls are the specific controls unique to each computer or computerized application such as payroll or order processing. So they include both automated and manual procedure that ensures that only authorized data are completely and correctly processed by the application. So here application control can be classified into two, the input control and processing controls, or into three. So we will add the output control. So when we say input control, check the data for accuracy and completeness when they are or when they are enter the system. So there are specific input controls for input authorization. So data conversion, data editing, and error handling. So that is a input control. So when we say naman na processing control, establish that the data are completely and accurately during updated. So output control naman is to ensure that the result of the computer processing are accurate, complete, and properly distributed. So you can find um, more detail about the application in general contours in our um, handbook given by Sir Abante. So the next is the risk assessment. So sorry, hindi ko na napanlikitan yung information system control, but that is a risk assessment. So risk assessment determines the level of risk to the firm. If a specific activity or process is not properly controlled, not all risks can be anticipated and measured, but most of the businesses will be able to acquire some understanding of the risks they face. That's why it's very important talaga na bago mag-commit ang company ng mga resources in having a security and information system controls, it must know which asset require protection and the extent to which these assets are vulnerable. Kasi risk assessment helps answer these questions and determine the most cost-effective set of control for protecting assets. So yung mga business managers na working with the information system specialties should try to determine the value of information assets, points of vulnerability that likely frequently of a problem, and the potential for damage para hindi masayang yung gastos ng company. Alright guys, so thank you so much for listening. I hope you understand my topic. So have a great day, and the next reporter will be Mr. JR. So, hi sir, you will be next na po. Thank you.